Hey, welcome back. We are continuing Cerberus. I've done a bunch of sanding, still more sanding to go. We're going to put the second coat of glazing putty on. Got new glazing putty this time. Didn't like this stuff. This brand I'm not overtly fond of. So I went back to standard Bondo. So we're putting on a second coat. If you notice, anywhere there's the dark lines, right? Those are areas that still need more second coat. Like right here, this is a low spot. I need to fill that in to make the whole thing smooth. So the dark is what's not getting sanded. So we're going to take a minute, put on our second coat, let it dry. I also printed up a bunch of other random stuff for it. The dog heads, look at that. Isn't that adorable? All the filigree that goes along the barrel. Tell you what, this thing is going to be stunning when it's done. I know, because, well, the other one was too. I haven't printed the filigree yet. I'll probably take care of that tonight. We'll get everything done and ready to get painted tomorrow, I'm hoping. But, I'm going to jump right into it. The nice thing about second coat of Bondo, glazing putty. Second coat of glazing putty is that you can go on way less, so it can go much easier. Brand new tube. Again, as thin as I can make it. The thinner it is, the less sanding I have to do later. Should probably put on my glasses. So now I'm going to stop talking so I can actually time lapse this. Normally I just randomly spurt stuff out in the middle and I start to editing and I'm like, oh son of a. So I'm going to shut my pie hole and just get to work. All right. I think we're at the point now where I want to put the rods on. These are just a threaded rod, and they hold the cylinders in, like so, right? But I need to drill the hole a little farther down, and then thread this in. I have steel threaded inserts, which I'm going to put in the center here to lock everything in place. We're not at that point yet, but carefully. So I under-drilled the hole so I could thread this in and know that it has a very good, solid, fixed. The nice thing is the hole here goes along the edge of the barrel, so I could, in theory, thread it all the way down if I really wanted. I'm just going to thread it till I feel comfortable. And we do the next one. But you see how they're kind of kicked out? The farther we go down this thread, the straighter it's going to become. I am tempted to jam two nuts together and just, seriously thread it in. I may do that yet. But They've already straightened out really well. Always reminded me of a Viper. I'm gonna go get 2 bolts. And we're gonna thread this on. So I couldn't find the right size bolts. So I got a metric, which will half thread and then lock itself in place. So I just need it long enough to, you know, do the thing. Doesn't have to fit perfect. It is almost the right thread size. So it starts and then gets all weird. Almost had it. It's probably more than long enough, but well, just a little more. Doesn't want to go on anymore, so we'll go to this one. It's always something, right? I think I may have stripped the threads just enough that this no longer wants to. Let's see what I got over in my bag of tricks. Alright. The search continues. I'll be right back. It'll work. It's fine. So the original thought behind these was there's going to be little magnets, and the magnets lock into these little holes that were going to be... I way overcomplicated it. What I need to do is I need to cut this right there. And leave the tiniest of nubbins on. Luckily, cuts pretty easy. Just barely poking. That's exactly what I wanted. Bolt I put on here doesn't want to come off, so we fake it. Now for the last one. Since this has already got a bolt that's locked onto it, what I'm using. That's good enough. Maybe just a touch too high. To every costume there's fiddly bits, right? I think that's where I am right now. It is too high, it's just barely too high. I'm going to thread it in place. That's better. So now, I got everything in line. And just adjust all of the angles. That's actually pretty close. I mean, it's just a hair off. There, that's not too shabby, huh? So, like I said, this hinge isn't the most stable of hinges. There's nothing to lock it in place. So what I tend to do is I take another threaded rod and I drill it through the center, and then into. In Kim's, it was just a lock nut that was in place. On this one, I picked up some steel inserts. The only reason to open it is to have it open for pictures. Really, there's no real reason that at a con you would want to open the gun up, unless it's just to show off. But if you want to do dynamic pictures, so I put a bolt through the center with all these cylinders. There's basically another threaded rod that goes through, and I'm going to use the threaded inserts. I'm going to drill a hole, epoxy that in, so it's got a nice even place to screw into. But we're not there yet. I just wanted to get these here so I can space this, sand it down, and then glue it. And that's where we're at right now. And this is the annoying part. I'm gonna go grab some Chicago screws. I'll be right back. It's always something, right? Always something. So I didn't have a Chicago screw that was long enough, right? What I did was I took 2 of them that are pretty decent, cut the head off of a bolt, and that's now my Chicago screw. It doesn't have to have thread really, or a head on it, because it really is just there to hold everything in place. And in this one, finger tight will be finger tight, because you're going to have the bolt going all the way through. Honestly, that's more than tight enough. So we've hit the terrifying point where I have to glue everything together. And I have to trust that my measurements are right. The fact that this isn't my first one makes it a bit easier. My fuel seems to have gone out. My fire seems to have gone out because I'm out of fuel. I believe that's what I was trying to say. I'll be right back. Like I said, I live in Chicagoland area. This is winter. We get a little cold. It is currently in the single digits. That is Frankenstein. So, yeah, it's kind of cold. I believe I'm done procrastinating. I think I'm going to nip these down just a little more. They don't have to go to the full length. I like them going the full length just because I designed them to, like I said, lock into these weird little holes, but that doesn't really happen. I guess we're there, huh? Everything can be adjusted. Everything can be adjusted in post, as long as this is in the right spot. And whether it is or not, it's in the spot it's going to be in. I'm just going to hold it. I'll hold it for about 10 minutes and see where we're at after that. So we've gotten to a really nice spot with this one, right? I think it's smooth. It's good. Do one more coat. I want to be done, right? And I'm like, that's good enough. I could easily go to priming at this point, but one more coat is going to make the difference between perfectly smooth and pretty okay. I think in the long run, it's going to make things a bit easier. Plus, I've got 9 hours while the scroll work prints. So, yeah, might as well do something interesting. So I'm going to put another coat on of the glazing putty. Most of this I think is okay. I want the barrel to be nice and smooth, because that's what people are going to see first. And with the dogs, it's going to be noticeable if there's any weird layer lines. So, again, super thin coat. Hopefully this is the last one. I think the fact that I want to grab a can of spray paint lets me know I need one more coat. And it's weird and stupid, but you know, so is costuming. I'm not coating the whole thing, just the areas that are going to be noticed. So I believe we're at the point where it is now time to add all the extra stuff to this. Entertainingly, only the barrel gets any filigree or anything fancy. The handle itself is just the handle. And I have a bunch of resin printed pieces that need to go on here. The first thing we're going to do gather our thoughts, apparently, there it is drill and thread the insert. And I want that dead center between these cylinders. So right there, right in the middle. And this is terrifying, because I could easily mess everything up right here. Probably won't, but I could. I should pilot drill it, and I'm not. Alright, so I'm pilot drilling it. Seems to be a lot of run out in my drill. So all I did, drill a hole, dead center, in between the three barrels. I believe this hole is just a little too small, which is what I wanted, because I wanted to have a very good fit. Popped all the way through, which is fine because it's the inside in between three barrels. I'd originally thought about heating it and then pressing it on, which is not the worst idea in the world. But I need my heat gun for that. I have a fire right next to me. I believe a lot of people use soldering irons to do this too. Probably a little more controlled. I'm gonna go grab my my soldering kit. I'll be right back. Apparently my my kit or my soldering station's inside. I'd really like to keep this as straight as possible. It's hard to do with I'm biggening it just a little bit like that. So I have, jeez Louise, that's stuck. Exactly what I wanted. I should use some epoxy, but I'm going to use super glue instead. That seems relatively parallel. Alright. Now for the fun part. We're adding the filigree in the dogs. I had to shave a little bit of the ridge here off to get the top dog to fit properly. There's a little bit of gap, so we are going to fill that with Bondo in a bit. We're also going to trim the edge down, make everything fit nice and flush. I like super gluing these before I prime them, just so I know everything fits properly. It's all bonded to things it's supposed to bond to. And then the primer makes a full coat and covers everything. So I have all these filigree pieces that just need to be glued on. And that is exactly what I'm about to do. It's as much entertainment as watching glue dry. Alright, now for the fun part. All the fancy filigree, which goes... I have Kim's right here, just so I can see what I'm doing. Last thing I want to do is put it on wrong. And even if I don't put it on wrong, I will sit here and go, I think I put it on wrong. So I have hers here as reference. I may pull you around so you get a better view of what I'm doing. I think we're going to do that. That should be a bit better. So we got two of them. Goes up or down, goes down. So this one goes here. So the first one of these I did was all PLA, the whole thing. And oh my goodness, was this hard to print. The resin makes it so much nicer. For the goodness. Now the dog head goes just behind the first one. I want to make sure kind of on the same plane. And then we have filigree that swishes down. And all this extra filigree really does take it from a very nice three-barreled revolver to a spectacular three-barreled revolver. I hope the remake does it justice. And then the last piece, a little bit of filigree that goes on the bottom. Fits in perfectly right there. Yeah, I'm using way too much glue. But this is one of the few situations where too much glue is just fine. Alright. Now we're going to fully let this dry and then do the other side. Do the other side off camera because this is super uncomfortable. Alright. All the bits and boibles are added. Now all we have to do is prime it. The barrel and the cylinders are the only things that are really ready. So I'm going to prime them first. And then, then we'll work on the rest of it. Process is all the same though. So on to primer. So we are sanded, primed, or sanded, glazing puttied, primed, and everything is assembled. And I think that's what we're going to call this one. Next one we're doing finishing techniques. There's going to be graphite powder, silver paint, rub and buff, automotive clears. Lots going on in the next one. So I really hope to see it. If this is your kind of thing, like and subscribe. If not, thanks for making it to the end. But I really do hope we'll see you next time.